Welcome, Gunrunner.
1989 was an excellent year for this YouTuber. It was the year when I first got my driver's license. It was the year that the first big-budget Batman movie was released. And it was also the year that one of my all-time favorite arcade games was released. No, I'm not talking about Polybius. I'm talking about Stun Runner, the innovative high-speed game from Atari. What's the backstory behind the creation of this game? What naughty bits almost made it into the game? So fasten your seatbelt and hold on tight because this is the history of Stun Runner. The basic idea for Stun Runner was kicked around Atari for at least 10 years according to original Atari designer Ed Rotberg. Atari designer Owen Rubin had been trying to do a vector game called Tube Chase, where you run down a tube and shoot things. He used a spare missile command board with some custom chips, completed the game, and sold it to arcade manufacturer Exidy under the name Vertigo. Unfortunately, this game was never released due to poor test market results. The game can be seen briefly here being played by Atari founder Nolan Bushnell. Fast forward about 10 years and Hard Drivin' was released with its powerful custom hardware. Mr. Rotberg felt that this was the time to finally realize his original vision. The game is a pure adrenaline speed rush which is easy to pick up but hard to master. He had felt that the hook of the game was the speed, but the visceral rush of shooting anything that moves kept the player engaged. Although it may seem like it, the game is not really a racing game, but a survival game. The unique cabinet was designed after the player's vehicle in the game. A Bradley trainer controller was added to immerse the player. Anybody who has played this game knows how fun it is to go upside down in the tunnels. Mr. Rotberg wanted the physics to be loosey-goosey and more fun than realistic. If you manage to make it to the last level, depending on how far you go, you get to put your name in. You also get to see how far other people have managed to go by their name markers. This was a first for 3D vector games. According to Mr. Rotberg, when the game was in testing, people were having trouble coming to grips with how to drive the vehicle. They decided to add stars to the very first level as a path to show you the fastest way to get through it. If you manage to beat the game, a girl hops on your Stun Runner and gives you a kiss. Early in development, one of the programmers got the position of the girl wrong and it appeared she was giving him the old in-out, in-out. Spread Tunnel Underground Network Runner, or Stun Runner for short, is an extremely fast-paced racing/shooter released by Atari Games in 1989. You have to navigate a futuristic speed bike which exceeds 900 miles an hour through various tunnels and courses. When the game starts, it will offer the choice to immediately start from the first, 6th, or 11th track. The second two choices will award you with some bonus points. Each map shows you a small diagram color-coding specific parts of the course. The objective is to reach the exit with time to spare, hopefully in one piece. Some later levels will offer more paths to travel through, which adds a bit of variety in choice and visuals. You can even reach some challenge levels with specific objectives to complete for bonus points. Boost pads are available for a quick jolt of speed, whilst running over a certain amount of green stars will award star players a bonus shockwave weapon, which is a one-shot quake-inducing blast that will wipe out all foes ahead. Other racers can be shot down or merely dodged, for the many tunnels allow racers to defy gravity. Smashing into vehicles will drastically slow the bike down though. It's a shame that two players cannot race against each other in some sort of versus mode. As I mentioned, there are 23 levels in total, with the final level seeing how far you can go with surprises along the way. You also get to see other people on the high scoreboard as their names are marked along the path. It's great to be able to play this game on MAME, but you have to straddle that thing to get the full experience.
That's what she said!
The game was a huge success for Atari and the conversions flowed like wine. Unfortunately, in most cases, that wine tasted like it came out of a box. The PC versions were developed by Domark Software, but judging by the quality of the conversions, I could have sworn TierTex was involved in some way. The personal computers at the time were just not capable of recreating this game at home. But I've said enough. I'll let you all be the judge, jury, and executioner. Let's get this thing going with the Spectrum version. Is this a Spider-Man game or Stun Runner? Because it sure doesn't look like Stun Runner. The tunnel effects are laughable, featuring shifting cycles of psychedelic circles. To be fair, the animation is fairly smooth and the game is fairly fast. It's just not Stun Runner. If it were released under an original title, it may have fared better. The Amstrad version looks a bit better than the Spectrum version, but it has some weird effects going on when you are in the tunnels. It looks like your destination is a giant butthole as it shakes to the left and shakes to the right. The tracks outside the tunnel are too slow and choppy. At least the graphics are nice and colorful. Even released under an original title, this game would still smell like a skunk. And now we have the Commodore 64 version. Oh my. Just when you thought the conversions couldn't get any worse, we have this pile of tripe. Did you love the arcade game but wish everything was blockier and slower and crappier? Then this is the game for you. The stars in the course have been replaced with giant red blocks. The nice smooth circle tunnel entrances have been replaced by a giant square. Once you get inside the tunnel, the animation is fairly smooth. The sound effects are really annoying when going over the blocks or stars or whatever the heck they're supposed to be. The Atari St is up next, and believe it or not, this is a 16-bit version. This looks like an unfinished mess with horrible colors and horrible designs. If you thought the 8-bit versions were slow and choppy, then this one takes the cake. The game runs at 3 or 4 frames per second inside the tunnel, which is just unacceptable. Similar to the Commodore 64 version, the sound it makes when going over the stars really grates on your nerves. I'd rather listen to my wife for 3 hours than listen to this, and that's saying something. Would I recommend this game? Absolutely not. Next up is the Amiga version, which is very similar to the Atari St. The speed inside the tunnels is a little bit better, running at about 7 frames per second instead of 4. The sound is also much better with digitized voices and sound effects. I was first notified about this game coming out for my Amiga from a European magazine. Myself being a naive hick from the sticks, I went ahead and ordered it without reading any reviews. Talk about a letdown. Not only was the game slow and not very fun, but the original release featured a bug that would not let you get past the first level. No matter what you did, time always ran out before you reached the end of the level. I had to send it back in to get it replaced with a new version. The MS-DOS version is up next, and honestly, it's not too bad. Looking very similar to the other 16-bit versions with only one difference. This one is fast and fairly smooth. The animation both inside and outside the tunnels look really good. Unfortunately, it's only in EGA mode, so the colors are a bit drab. There is no Sound Blaster support, so it's only PC speaker, which hurts it in the long run. This is as close as you're going to get on a 16-bit computer back in 1990. And now we come to the only reason I ever bought an Atari Lynx handheld. Stun Runner is a masterpiece for the miniature 16-bit device. Who would have thought that the best conversion of Stun Runner would be on a handheld? This version is exactly what we should have had on the 16-bit computers. Nice smooth animation, and the speed is really fast. Every piece of digitized sound and speech was included from the arcade game. Unlike every other conversion, when you play the Atari Lynx version, it actually feels like Stun Runner, and that's what it's all about. Now sure, when you play this on an emulator, the graphics are blocky, but when you shrink that puppy down to Atari Lynx size, it's very impressive. The game was released on Midway Arcade Treasures 3 compilation for the Xbox, PS2, and GameCube. Unfortunately, their method of emulation was not up to snuff because the frame rate is too choppy. There are also bugs all throughout the game. For ease of use, I guess it's okay to play, but if you want something arcade perfect, stick with me. And that wraps up this episode on the history of Stun Runner. The game was innovative for its high-speed vector graphics and gameplay. There are a lot of these arcade cabinets still out there, so if you've never tried it, hop on and give it a whirl. Thanks for watching. If you like my videos and want to support me on Patreon, please click the link below. Every dollar helps, and I really appreciate all of your support. Also, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I upload new videos. Thanks for watching.